What's up, you guys? Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night for a quick home theater gear gadget update for you. We did a home theater tour not too long ago where you could see all the gadgets, the projector, the Blu-ray player, the sound system, all of that stuff. So I'll link that at the end of this video if you want to see it if you haven't seen it. It's actually in two parts because I kind of ran out of time in the first video and screwed up one thing that really bothered me. So I did a follow-up video to kind of correct that and give you guys a more in-depth look at the home theater gear that I have here in the space. If you like this kind of stuff and you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that like button. It really helps these videos get out there to the world, and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date on what's happening here. We're going to be talking about a lot of physical media Blu-rays coming out. Got a lot of stuff on the way to me, due to current circumstances. I'm not going to get into it too much because we're here to have a good time, kind of get a break from all that. But due to those circumstances, things have been delayed and normal things that I would be talking to you about. So with that in mind, let's just move forward and talk about some good stuff and kind of take a break from everything going on outside. Got the Waterloo happening here. Let me just get a drink of that real quick. So the biggest thing that plagues those of us who do work really hard to do a home theater system, and this has nothing to do with how much dollars you invest. It has to do with having the right gear for the right job. It's not about having a whether it's $1,000 home theater or a $25,000 home theater or more. It's about buying the individual pieces, the components. You have your Blu-ray player, and you have a receiver, and then of course you have your TV and different components to do the job. The biggest problem with that is all of the remotes, or just the remotes that I have that run my system. This is the receiver remote right there. So your Marantz receiver. If you look back at that home video tour, you'll see the exact models of everything I have. So we have that, and this is obviously the DirecTV remote. I do still have DirecTV, 720p, whatever. I still have it because of people in the house like to have access to TV. This is my Optoma projector remote. Very chintzy piece of crap remote. Hate it. This is also the Roku remote. Love this thing, actually. If I'm going to stream, this is a great device to do it. And last but not least, I have the Xbox One X controller. Currently, this is what I play my Blu-rays. Outside of gaming, I play my 4Ks and my Blu-rays through this device. I do have a Philips 4K Blu-ray player, but it is a very early first-gen 4K Blu-ray player, and I hate the thing. I don't like the interface. It's slow. So I'm going to get something. If you have a recommendation for a good, I'm not trying to spend $1,000 on a Blu-ray player, but if you have a good priced 4K Blu-ray player that you would recommend, let me know in the comments, because that is somewhere I'm going eventually. But what I just did to deal with this nonsense of remotes is upgrade my remote situation to this guy. This is the Harmony 950 Elite remote. I didn't unbox it for you because this is not a new remote. This remote has been out for a few years. The mistake that we made, though, and I'll talk to you about it in a minute, is getting this and not getting the Elite version with the hub. We'll talk about that in just a second. But this remote, pick it up here, replaces all of those other remotes. Now, I've had universal remotes before, and I've been a little bit slow on the uptake as far as going to something like this, because generally I've hated the interfaces and just the build quality and all of that of universal remotes. I always end up just throwing them away and going with my individual remotes. But this guy does something very different that those of you who've been in the home theater game for much longer than me probably have experienced this before. But before we get into that specifically, I want to say that it also comes with a base here that's plugged up in the front of the room to charge it. This gets about 4 days of moderate use. So my advice, drop it at bedtime into the charger because you don't want to suddenly not have access. So the cool thing about this remote is it has all the typical buttons that you would expect. It's got the color-coded buttons here for the Xbox. It's got the DVD and Blu-ray player, media player stuff. And then we have a touchscreen up here. The touchscreen goes into specifically what makes this remote special. Let me see if I can get that closer so you can kind of see. So I actually had to create those. These are experiences that you can create with your remote. You have to plug it into this bothered me. You have to plug it into the computer to do it. I would have preferred this thing to connect to my smartphone by Bluetooth or something like that. But you have to get the Harmony application and plug this into your computer, and it's tedious, as all universal remote setups are. I had to go in and manually configure and enter all of my devices. Only once or twice did I actually have to do the deal where you point the remotes at each other. I only had to do that a couple of times, and that was because I was setting up some custom commands, which is a very cool thing. But anyway, to the experiences. So one of my experiences is just to watch TV. So not only is this making it easier for me, my hope is that this remote will make it easier for the rest of the household when I'm not here. So what happens once all the devices are programmed into this remote and you create this overall experience called Watch TV. Someone can come in, this is a touchscreen. It's not going to be the same experience touchscreen wise as your phone. It's not that good, but it does work. It works well. It's just, you are going to be annoyed a little bit because it's not quite as accurate and as tactile as your phone, but it works. So if you come in here right now, the way this is set up, and you tap Watch TV, what it will automatically do is turn on the projector. It will turn on the receiver. It will switch the receiver to the input tied to the DirecTV. It will turn on the DirecTV box. So projector, receiver, DirecTV box, it sets the appropriate input for DirecTV. And the buttons on this remote automatically configure to controlling DirecTV. You can see there's a guide button. All that stuff that's on this remote is here. All you have to do at that point is sit down and watch. So it doesn't get much easier than that, honestly. So then I have another experience here. Just I was going to put watch movie or whatever, but I put Xbox or movie because if you come in here to play games or to watch a movie, it's basically the same setup. So you tap that Xbox or movie icon that's here on the remote, and the projector comes on, the receiver comes on and switches to the Xbox input, and then the Xbox will come on, and you are good to go. You're ready to go. And I have one here called Roku, because that's how the streaming situation works back here. It's my preferred method. So again, tap the Watch Roku button on this touchscreen. The projector comes on, receiver comes on, switches to the Roku input, and the Roku is on. And your controls, again, reset to work with the Roku. All of these buttons in the application are remappable and customizable. If you don't like their default offerings, you can go in and customize and remap each button. I haven't done a lot of that yet. I probably will the more I use this. I've had this only about a few days, only about 3 or 4 days I've had this. If it tells you how the mail is running, this was supposed to be here back in mid-April, but it just came. So that is the best part about this. And when you're done, you tap that same experience again, watch TV, watch or Xbox or Roku, whichever one you were using, you tap it again and everything shuts off. It's not perfect, and there's something I have to work on, and I don't know if maybe I can fix this, but the big issue I'm having right now is to turn off the projector. You have to, on this remote, hit the power off button twice. Okay? So with that, if you're whichever one of these, and this is going to be a household training thing, unless you can tell me in the comments if you use this remote if I can do it, but what I need to happen right now is if we're watching TV or whatever, you have to tap that off twice. You have to tap that experience twice to get the receiver to shut off, or the projector to shut off. Now, there may be a way to customize the command in here to do that. I'm going to have to look further into it, because each device in the application, within the app, you can customize commands. You can even set the amount of delay. If you need to be able to press the button and have a millisecond of delay before it activates or whatever, just to make sure your devices all turn on in the appropriate order, you could do that. So if you want to make sure your receiver comes on before the DirecTV box or something like that, you can go in and adjust delay on whatever to make that happen. It's a very, very cool remote. So initially got the remote, just the remote. The problem is the way my theater is set up, and if you look at the theater tour, you'll see, because this back part is a workstation where I do production work, editing, film production editing, and video editing and that kind of thing. So my devices are not in the front of the room by the screen where you would anticipate them to be. They're all back here in my workstation. And that's so I don't have to get up, because I'm usually previewing or color grading stuff on the projector and that kind of thing. So getting this by itself, it requires an IR blaster. And I have a few things in the front of the room. Again, looking back at that video, there's some IR blasters sitting on the subwoofer down there for the DirecTV and for the receiver, but nothing else. The projector is, of course, on the ceiling where it is, and you have to point the remote at the projector, and the Xbox here is in the back of the room. Now, if I use this guy right here, I can just hit the power button on this and not be pointed at the Xbox, but my remote does need to be pointed. So to get it to work without the hub, it basically is a little disc here. I mean, maybe I'll show it to you, and it doesn't really matter, but it's just a little disc. Without that thing, I'd have to come back here to the back of the room and hit that button to get the Xbox to come on, and then back in the front to get the projector to come on. It doesn't really work. It doesn't really do what it's supposed to do. You're walking around the room like a jackass trying to get everything to turn on. So if you get the hub, you can put that hub in front of your devices wherever they are, inside a cabinet, and keep the cabinet door shut, whatever, and it will convert that IR to I guess like a Bluetooth or a radio frequency to work with this remote without having line of sight. That solves the problem. So it ended up being okay, because at the time of this purchase, the remote was $350 with the hub. We got kind of a deal on it and got it closer, just this by itself, for closer to $200, and then found the hub at Best Buy for $69. So I ended up saving maybe just a little bit of money, but I think maybe you could even find a better deal than that if you looked around. We just kind of decided to do it and got it. So that is my biggest piece of advice, is if you're going to do this, then you need to just go ahead and spring for, or do like I did, find a refurbed hub or something like that. You're going to need the hub, unless you have your components in one spot, all within line of sight of this remote. And if you do, then you're good to go. You're perfectly capable of just pointing. But it is very nice to be able to not worry about what you're pointing at. A couple of other little things about this remote that are super cool. So you see the experience is there. If I swipe down, it gives me this touch, just an open touchpad. So I can tap and hold and pull up to adjust the volume on up and down on the receiver. Left and right will give me fast forward and rewind. There's a whole series of, I don't know if you guys can hear that, there's like a car alarm or something going off, but there's a whole series of controls that you can get just by swiping down. Okay, so also, if you need to do this, you can hit the devices button, and then you can go through and work with individual devices. If you don't want to use the experience, if you're just looking to turn one thing on, you can do that here. So overall, very happy with this remote with the hub. Without the hub, it was a nightmare. It gets rid of all of this stuff. So, do you use a universal style remote? What do you use? Let me know in the comments, and let me know what your experiences are like. I would love to hear it. And if you've been using a Logitech remote like this one, I feel like most of the models, this is a 950, I think there's a 915, there's a handful of models, I think at their core they're about the same. So if you've got some cool tips and tricks that you can share with me, I would love to hear them, because like I said, I'm less than a week on this remote. I'm still kind of learning it, but so far it has really changed the user experience of this theater room. So tell me what you think. What are you using in your house, in your theater space? Let's talk about it in the comments. And what cool stuff are you watching while you're quarantined at home, if you're quarantined at home? Let me know in the comments. Let's discuss it. Until next we meet, though, pull something cool off your shelf, put it in your Blu-ray player, and remind your friends and family why physical media is the best way to watch movies and TV. I'll see you guys soon.